After flying home for my father's 65th birthday, I showed up to an empty house. They had all gone to dinner without me. When I called, my mother laughed and said, "It was just too embarrassing having you there." I ate alone at a diner that night. A year later, when they needed help covering medical bills, I didn't even open their messages. I hadn't seen my parents in almost 2 years when I decided to surprise my dad for his 65th birthday. He and I used to be close, or at least that's what I told myself growing up. He taught me how to change a tire, he used to take me fishing. But after I moved away from Knoxville and started living a different kind of life, things started to crack. I'm the youngest of 3. My sister Amy still lives in Knoxville with her husband and 2 kids. My brother Mike's about 90 minutes away in Chattanooga. I'm the only one who left the state, moved out to Seattle, didn't settle down with a wife, didn't buy a house in a subdivision. I work in tech. I rent a studio apartment. I've been open about being bisexual for almost 10 years now. That's always been the unspoken issue. They never came out and said they had a problem with it. But they also never asked about my life, never asked about the people I was dating, and always acted like my part of the family tree didn't really count. Still, when I booked that plane ticket to fly out for my dad's birthday last year, I was hopeful. I even wrapped a gift. I knew he'd love a vintage pocket watch, something he used to talk about when I was a kid. I planned the whole thing quietly. I told Amy about it just to be safe, and she said, "Okay," but she didn't seem too excited. I should have known right then. I landed in Knoxville on a Friday afternoon. Flight was delayed a little. I grabbed a lift to their house, the same house I grew up in, the one with the red shutters and the busted mailbox that still leaned slightly to the right. I had my suitcase in one hand and the gift in my backpack. When I got there, the driveway was empty. Porch lights were off. I figured maybe they were out grabbing food or something. I knocked on the door. No answer. Rang the bell. Still nothing. I called my mom. She picked up right away. "Hey Mom," I said, "I'm outside." There was a pause. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, sweetie. You really came?" I blinked. "Yeah. I wanted to surprise Dad." "I thought, we're out to dinner," she cut in. "Okay. Should I meet you there?" She hesitated. "It's just, we're with close family tonight." "I am close family." Another laugh. Not loud. Not a joke. More like someone trying to brush off a mess. "It was just too embarrassing having you there." I stood on the porch with her words echoing in my ear. What? It's his big day. He deserves to relax. We didn't want any awkward moments. "I'm sorry you came all this way, but you kind of did this to yourself." Then she hung up. I stood there for a while, staring at the house. Same steps I used to sit on waiting for the school bus. Same door I walked through 1,000 times. But this time, I wasn't welcome. I dragged my suitcase down the street. Found a Waffle House a few blocks away. Ate a sandwich in silence while families sat around me with balloons and cake. That night I stayed at a cheap motel. Didn't sleep much. My stomach was tight and burning like I'd swallowed glass. The next morning, I booked a flight home. I didn't leave a note. I didn't send a message. I just disappeared. No one called to ask why. I don't do drama. I don't post family rants online. But what happened that night broke something in me. Not just the dinner, but the laugh. That laugh haunts me more than the words. I started thinking about every holiday where they made jokes about the gay scene in Seattle. Every time my dad called my job playing with computers. Every time my mom talked about how sad it was I didn't have a good Christian woman in my life. They didn't kick me out, but they shut me out. Slowly. Quietly. Until that night, when it wasn't quiet anymore. Still, I didn't fight back. I didn't write angry messages. I didn't start a scene. I just moved on. About 11 months later, in early July, my sister Amy texted me. Hey. I know things haven't been perfect between us. But Mom's really sick. Dad's not doing great either. We need help. I didn't respond. 2 days later, I got another text from her. Can you just call me? Please. Then my brother Mike left a voicemail. He sounded different. Tired. I didn't listen to the whole thing. Just enough to hear the words, hospital bills. A week after that, I got an email from my mom. Long message. Full of updates. Turns out my dad had been diagnosed with lymphoma. He'd already started chemo. It was early stage, but expensive. My mom had serious gut issues. Something with her intestines that required surgery. Their insurance was garbage. They had no savings left. They were behind on payments. She said the number straight out, $14,672. That's how much they needed to get back above water. She ended the message with, "We're still family. Please help us. You're our son." I closed the email and never opened it again. They reached out again in August. Then September. Cousins messaged me. Friends of the family. My aunt even left a voicemail saying, "You don't turn your back on blood." I never replied. Then Rachel, my cousin who was always nice to me, called. I picked up. She said Mom had been crying a lot. That Dad was too proud to admit he missed me. She tried to spin it like they'd just made a bad decision that night. That leaving me out wasn't meant to hurt me. But they did hurt me, I said. I know. But you're better than that. No, I said. I'm done being better. She didn't know what to say. Eventually she just said, "So you're really going to let them suffer?" I'm not making them suffer. They did that part on their own. Then I hung up. They sold their car in October. Then the boat. Then a big patch of land Dad used to hunt on. They still didn't have enough. Amy tried setting up a GoFundMe. It barely broke $400. Mike posted on Facebook about how some people abandon their family in their darkest hour. A friend sent me a screenshot. On Christmas Eve, I sent one message in the family group chat. Glad I could make your holiday less embarrassing this year. No one replied. I didn't want their money. I didn't want revenge at first. But I realized something. Sometimes silence is the best punishment. Let people live in the world they built. Let them see how cold it feels. Let them eat alone. By February, I thought maybe they'd give up. Maybe they'd stop asking. I figured they'd blame me and move on. I was wrong. Amy showed up at my apartment. She didn't knock at first. She just waited outside the building, somehow figured out which unit was mine. When my neighbor buzzed her in, she stood outside my door holding a takeout bag and an envelope. I opened the door just far enough to block her from seeing inside. Seriously? She looked thinner. Paler. Like she hadn't slept much in weeks. But her eyes? Still full of that same fake calm she used to use when she lied to our parents. I just want to talk. I didn't move. I brought your favorite, she said, lifting the bag. Pulled pork from Mission. And some peach cobbler. I didn't take it. Then she pulled out the envelope. This is everything. Bills. Hospital papers. Bank statements. It's not fake. We're in real trouble. I looked down at it, then back at her. So why are you here now? Because you need money? No, she said. Because we need you. That pissed me off more than anything. You didn't need me when you were laughing while I stood outside the house like an idiot. She flinched. I didn't laugh, she said. Maybe not out loud. But you sure as hell didn't stop it. She stood there in silence. Then she said, "Do you know how messed up it was, the way Mom handled that night? You were right to be angry. But this isn't just about pride anymore. It's survival." I nodded. Then I said, "Did Mom apologize?" She blinked. What? Did she say sorry? Not just, "We miss you." Not, "We made a mistake." Did she ever say, "I'm sorry I humiliated you in front of your whole childhood"? She hesitated. "No," she admitted. "But I think she wants to. Then she can do it herself." I closed the door. She didn't knock again. About a month later, my uncle reached out Dad's younger brother, Steve. I always liked him. We hadn't talked in years, but he tracked me down on LinkedIn. He messaged me late one night, "Your dad's health is turning fast. If you want closure, now's the time." I stared at the message for 5 full minutes. Then I replied, "What closure did he give me?" Uncle Steve said he understood, but added one last line, "There's a letter. Your dad wrote it before chemo. It's in the house. I think he meant it for you." That stopped me cold. Part of me wanted to ask what it said. Part of me wanted to drive there, demand to read it. But the other part, the part that remembered eating alone at that Waffle House, the part that remembered my mom's voice saying I was too embarrassing, that part said, "Let them sit in it." I never replied to Steve again. 3 weeks ago, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a small box and a single piece of paper. The paper said, "He never got to give this to you. But he carried it every day since you sent it." It was the pocket watch. The one I bought him for his birthday. The one they never let me give him. I sat on my floor for almost an hour just staring at it. He had opened it. I could tell. There were small scratches on the back. The chain had wear. It had been used. Carried. Kept. The message hit harder than any voicemail. He had wanted it. Maybe he even wanted me there that night. But he didn't stop what they did. He didn't stand up for me. He let them shut the door. And in the end, I was left with a clock that ticked louder than any apology. 2 days after the watch arrived, I got another letter. This time, it wasn't anonymous. It came from Rachel, my cousin. Inside was a typed note, and a folded piece of paper that had clearly been opened and refolded many times. The ink was smudged in places. My name was written at the top in my dad's handwriting. Rachel's note was short, "Amy didn't want you to see this. She said it would only mess things up more. But he wrote it for you. You should at least get to read it." My heart was already pounding before I even unfolded it. My dad's letter was dated 5 months earlier, back when his treatment had started. It wasn't long. Just half a page. But every sentence punched me in the gut. He wrote, "I don't know if this will reach you. I don't even know if I deserve for it to. But I want to say I'm sorry. Not just for the dinner, for everything. I let your mom talk me into things I didn't fully agree with. I didn't stop her. I let her shut you out to keep things easier. But it only made things worse. I see now that I let you carry the weight of our shame because it was more comfortable than facing our own. I was proud of you. Even if I didn't say it right. Even if I stood there and said nothing. I hope you'll forgive me someday. But if not, I understand. I really do. Dad, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in silence, like I did at that Waffle House, and let the weight of his words land. He hadn't died. At least not yet. But it felt like I had already lost him once, and maybe this was the second time. Rachel told me the truth on a phone call later. Amy had found the letter weeks ago. She didn't tell anyone. Not my mom, not Mike, not even Uncle Steve. She kept it because she thought it would complicate things. Her words. She didn't want me reading it and getting the wrong idea. Didn't want me thinking that my dad was turning against the family, or admitting to stuff he didn't mean. So she kept it hidden. Let that sink in. My sister, the one who begged at my door, deliberately kept my own father's apology away from me. She blocked his words, even after knowing how much damage they caused. For the second time in a year, someone decided I didn't deserve to be part of my own family. I printed the letter and framed it. It sits on my shelf now. Then I did something I didn't think I'd do. I wrote one final message to Amy. You had a chance to make things right. Instead, you buried it. I got Dad's letter anyway, not because of you, but in spite of you. Don't contact me again. You've done enough. Let Mom figure out her bills. Let Mike keep whining on Facebook. I'll remember the silence you gave me. And now, you'll live in mine. I sent it. Then I blocked her number. I haven't heard from her since. By April, word got out about the letter. I don't know if Rachel told someone or if Amy finally slipped, but somehow my mom found out that I had read Dad's apology. I only know this because I got a voicemail from her. I hadn't heard her voice since the day she laughed at me on the phone. It was shaky. Rambling. Your sister made a mistake, she said. She was trying to protect us. We were all hurting. I didn't know he wrote you something. If I had, I would have made sure you got it. Then there was a long pause, and I swear I heard her trying not to cry. But we're not perfect. We're your family. That has to count for something. She hung up after that. I didn't call her back. Because what she said wasn't true. Amy didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. And so did my mom. Not just once over and over. She chose silence at the table when jokes were made about me. She chose not to call when I left that motel. She chose to laugh when I stood on her porch with a wrapped gift for my father's birthday. And now, she wanted to skip over all of that because the bills were piling up and Dad's body was failing. No. Not anymore. Then Mike made everything worse. He posted on Facebook again, this time tagging me directly. The post was long. Angry. Accused me of turning my back on our dying father. Claimed I only cared about old grudges. Said I was spiteful, selfish, and morally bankrupt. His followers, mostly church friends and old high school buddies, ate it up. A few of them sent me DMs telling me I was disgusting. One of them even found my business website and left a fake review calling me a cold-blooded narcissist who abandoned his cancer-stricken dad. That's when I realized they weren't just trying to fix things quietly anymore. They were trying to rewrite the story. They wanted to paint me as the villain, so they didn't have to deal with what they did. So I wrote one post. Just one. I didn't name names. I didn't curse. I didn't even talk about being bisexual or political or anything else they used to attack me behind closed doors. I just told the truth. Last year, I flew across the country to surprise my father for his birthday. When I got there, the house was empty. They were already at dinner without me. I called my mother, and she laughed and said, "It was too embarrassing having you there." I ate alone at a Waffle House that night. A year later, they needed money. They needed support. They wanted me to pretend none of that happened. My father eventually wrote me a letter, an apology. One I was never supposed to see. My sister kept it from me. I'm done pretending. I didn't cut off my family. They cut me out, one decision at a time. Now they're living in the silence they gave me. That post got shared. A lot. People who knew the family started reaching out. Quietly. A few said they were ashamed they never spoke up. One aunt offered to send money to make up for how awful your mom was. I declined. But more importantly, people stopped listening to Mike. His follow-up posts were filled with comments like, "Wait, didn't y'all leave him out on purpose?" Or, "So, he was the scapegoat all along?" The public sympathy shifted. Their version of the story crumbled. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. And sometimes that's enough. It took 2 weeks after I posted the truth before Amy reached out again. This time, it was an email. Subject line, "Congratulations. You destroyed what was left." The message was venom wrapped in fake sadness. "We're being harassed. People are calling Mom cruel. Dad can't even go to his appointments without hearing whispers. You did this to punish us. You knew exactly what you were doing. And if he dies while thinking his son hates him, that's on you." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I clicked archive and moved on with my day. Not because I didn't care, but because I did. And I had cared long enough for all of them. Let them feel the heat of what they created. Let them live in a world where people know now. No more secrets. No more fake holiday cards. No more Sunday smiles hiding Wednesday cruelty. Let them sit in the silence they forced on me. Only now, it's public. 3 months later, my dad passed away. The cancer took over fast. He was in and out of the hospital that last month. I heard through a cousin. Amy didn't call. My mom didn't write. Mike posted a long eulogy on Facebook that made my skin crawl. He wrote about Dad as if we were all one big family. Left out every single piece of truth. I wasn't invited to the funeral. No surprise. But I went anyway. Not to sit in the pews. Not to cry. I stood at the back of the church, near the double doors. Wore a plain black suit. Nobody noticed me until the very end, when people were walking out. That's when my mom saw me. Her eyes went wide like she'd seen a ghost. She didn't say a word. Amy was right behind her. Face flushed, jaw tight. She walked up to me, almost nose to nose. "You don't get to be here," she hissed. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "I already was. Long before you erased me." Then I turned and walked out. After the funeral, I sent one last package to their house. No note. Just a copy of the framed letter my dad had written to me. I printed a second line under his signature in small, black ink. "You all had a chance to change. But you chose silence. Now it's yours to keep." Since then, nothing. No calls. No messages. The house was sold again. They couldn't afford to stay. Mike moved in with a buddy in Chattanooga. Amy's marriage is reportedly cracking under the pressure. And my mom? She's renting a 1-bedroom in a rundown part of Maryville. Word is she hasn't spoken much to anyone in the family since the funeral. As for me, I'm doing all right. My business is growing. I hired my first employee last month. I have someone in my life who sees me, all of me, and doesn't flinch. I'm not angry anymore. Just clear. Sometimes revenge isn't fire or screaming. Sometimes it's a mirror. Held up so close, they can't look away. And sometimes, the worst punishment is simply this: they lost me. Forever.